fans? Welcome back to Room 237 as I continue my marathon of more extreme horror, more extreme films. And this is one that came in today. This is one that I just heard of recently, didn't really know anything about it. But it's actually a film from Mexico, which I don't really think I have any other ones, so this may be a first. But it's from 2015 and it is produced by none other than Ruggiero Deodato, the director of Cannibal Holocaust, Jungle Holocaust, Body Count, Phantom of Death, Washing Machine, as silly as that sounds. And this kind of does play out format wise, kind of like Cannibal Holocaust. And that is the fairly extreme film. I was actually surprised with how extreme this movie got. Atroz, or Atroz. It's also known as Atrocious. So, yeah, directed by Lex Ortega, who also wrote the film and also stars in it as Goyo, our sort of lead, our lead. Uh, this was part of this was crowdfunded by like a Indiegogo type site. The budget itself was like $7,000, which is very cheap even for 2015, and it looks good. I mean, it looks good for 7,000, but it does have that kind of shot on video look. I mean, even the parts that are supposed to look like a movie, uh, the way it was shot kind of reminded me of something like Spit on Your Grave 3. Just that kind of filmmaking. But it mixes regular movie and found footage, which is where the Cannibal Holocaust comes in. But it's not so much half and half, like the first half is a movie, second half is found footage. We have these two serial killers, one of which is played by Lex Ortega, the other one, Gordo, played by, I could be wrong, Julio Rivera, but they're arrested after this OUI accident that kills a woman. This camcorder is found in their car that shows them graphically torturing and killing this prostitute, which leads into this investigation where more tapes are found, and the uh, captain, I guess, Juarez, played by Carlos Valencia, tries to get to the bottom of it. So we do go back and forth between movie and found footage, and the movie stuff looks decent. It looks better than shot on video. The found footage stuff looks convincing. I'll say that. It looks convincing. But one of my major problems with found footage is I have to believe that there's a reason this is being filmed, and this movie does not do that. I mean, you have a scene where a guy kills a prostitute with his camera, and then we cut to his friend walking in the room with his camera. Like, almost like it's a world where everyone is just constantly filming everything. It doesn't always make sense. It really, I mean, it's like Paranormal Activity level of why is this being filmed. But it it is interesting. There is a twist at the end. It does appear to have some kind of social commentary. You could look at it as toxic masculinity. You could look at it as this sort of corruption of government, which it might even have similar social commentary as a Serbian film, like what that had to say about Serbia. This could be saying about Mexico. But I didn't really get that. I just want to see who else was involved. Like if it says who did the effects, which I don't think it will. Original music by JH5 and Egun, which I did like the music, and of course, this is the Unearthed Films release, like almost everything I picked up recently. Now, as for the graphic stuff, the stuff that I'm sure you guys want to hear, the very first torture scene is, which, one, be warned, yes, just graphic. The first torture scene, which is after they have their accident, their camcorder is found, and then we switch to that footage as we watch it as Juarez does, and it does do some cool stuff, like the tracking will kind of get messed up, or it will go to blue. It shows someone's rewinding it or ejecting it, so that was kind of cool. But it shows them tracking down this prostitute, then abducting her, and it's pretty much the exact same as the opening to August Underground, the first August Underground, but without being as effective. It feels like it's trying harder to be disturbing, not as effective as August Underground, because August Underground really has that very well done illusion of being this just found, depraved film. I will say this is probably shakier than August Underground, but so we have this prostitute taped and or tied to a chair, and they're punching the hell out of her. I will say the punches are pretty brutal and pretty effective. Not so much the fist cam when they have the camera attached. That looks kind of silly, but when they're just punching her, the and just the sound, the echo of the basement, because it's down in the basement, of course, but it even looks like August Underground. Then one guy leaves to get a charger, comes back, the guy's throwing up because she shit herself, which then the guy goes down with the camera to get up close, and yeah, it does look gross, looks fake, looks like melted chocolate. But then when they start digging in, taking handfuls of it, I actually gagged. I was actually just like, get, and yeah, they're kind of smearing it on her, even kind of, yeah. So that's kind of like August Underground. Then cuts into her tit, even cuts it open, and then pours, they're digging through her purse, and that's where they find this sort of gimp mask. I don't know how well you can see that. So they wear that, pour nail polish remover all over the big wound. Then we cut back, and like her hair's all burnt off, and her face is all swollen. And then one shoots her. Gordo, they keep calling him the fat one. Gordo, he's got like the disturbed chin piercings. So that's the first tape. And we see how they're interrogated, which, being held underwater. Gordo gets a screwdriver under his fingernails. Goyo gets electroshock to the testicles. We see him vomit as this happens. And then we just see like a crime, because they're trying to find someone. They keep saying, "Where is he?" They tell them. We see police and examiners go to the basement where we just saw the film. They find another tape, and that's Goyo with this prostitute, or stripper, I should say. Stripper has consensual sex with her. They hang out. She's on her period, so things go well. Second time, she's not on her period, but they engage in I don't know what you would call it, breath play, like saran wrap around the head. They start making out, having sex that way. He goes to go down on her, but she says she's not on her period, so he freaks out. And then we get kind of with the beating her with the camera. And then here it cuts, like it'll freeze and it'll cut. It does try to do some cuts, either to black or to blue, or mess with the tracking for some sort of impact the way Snuff 102 did that as well. Every time there was a punch, it would be a frame of black for like a added impact, I guess. But it keeps cutting out and coming back to him with scissors, stabbing her between the legs, which he then, gets himself all bloody, has sex with her. And then that's the part where the other guy comes in with his camera. It's just like all this footage ended up on one, like everyone has a camera and is constantly filming. That was one of my issues with it. And then I think after that tape, the police and examiners are still in the basement, but they find a VHS tape. And then Juarez brings Goyo into the office. And Goyo is played by the writer-director Lex Ortega. And he is this big, intimidating dude. Like, he looks like someone that's been in prison, probably for murder. But, and, he tells them, hey, is there something bad on this? Is there something you don't want to relive on this? Well, let's pop it in. And it's Goyo's childhood. And we see kind of how he became the way he is. And before I get into it, I don't really know how to word it. It does deal with child abuse, child sexual abuse, incest, and sort of the most extreme version of conversion therapy, because they find out or think that Goyo is gay, so his parents try to snap him out of it. So if any of that offends you, don't continue the review and don't see this film, because it does get pretty heavy. I will say the stuff with Goyo's childhood, even though that was, or teenage years, that was more of the unbelievable stuff as to why they were filming. Like, why even the parents are like setting the camera down to dig through his stuff, or handing off the cameras and while they're doing all this horrific shit. But it was definitely the heavier stuff, more effectively disturbing stuff. So, be warned as I go through this. His dad finds a bunch of gay porn, a strap-on, and all this stuff. Again, Goyo's like in high school at this point. I wanted to get who played young Goyo, but it doesn't say. But yeah, his parents are talking about how he's the word that rhymes with maggot, and he's not a man. He's a sissy. He's a princess. It's your fault. It's your fault. It's your fault. And then they have a sit down. Then it cuts to like the dad beating the hell out of him. They give him a box which has all of his sort of female clothes, a strap on, and the dad beats him up again. They set the camera down, and the dad uses, he doesn't wear it, but he holds it, the dildo part of the strap on him. And in a very like, oh, is this what you want? Yeah, see? Are you my son or are you like a girl? And the sound kind of cuts out, like you can't really hear him scream. It's almost like ambient, distorted, which really disturbing. Along with that, kind of like the scene in Irreversible. In the background, his sister is standing there just like watching in horror. But that goes on for quite some time. And then the dad makes him go to school in just his shitty underwear with his girly clothes and his wig on. And we just see the look on his face that he's, that Full Metal Jacket starting to snap. He goes to his friend, which I think is a younger version of Gordo. He buys some drugs, buys a 9mm, drugs his parents, ties them up with his sister's filming, and he has the mom put the strap. Well, first we see him hit the strap on with barbed wire, an X-Acto blade, puts like a little sort of, or what you call them, little tiny cameras. So now with the sister filming, they had the mom put the strap on. He does pistol whip the dad a few times. Makes her use the strap on the dad, which is covered in barbed wire and a X-Acto knife blade. But he put those tiny cameras on the strap on, so we do get a shot of going inside, which pretty well done. Fairly gross. And that's not where it ends. We then see Goyo completely mutilate his dad's genitals, and then when we cut back, it's gender reassignment. His mother's breasts are gone. The dad's dick and balls is on the mom, and the mom's breasts are on him, and his penis is completely mutilated and open. So he pretty much did to them what they were doing to him, completely, to the nth degree. Then we see the brother and sister, kind of starting to get together, which he can't be aroused. Which earlier, there was the scene, like, before the dad does that to him, he tries to get him a prostitute, but the prostitute says he can't get hard. So, that's when he really punishes him. That happens again, so the sister starts to make fun of him because he can't get hard. Talks about how he used to spy on her through the walls and pleasure himself. She's making fun of him for this, even though she just helped him kill, in the worst way, their parents for doing the same thing. And of course, he sets the camera up so we can see this whole conversation. And that's what I mean. The found footage stuff, it looks good. It looks like believable found footage. Not the most, but passable. It looks like passable found footage. But just with how much of it is, like, if you really think about it, why does this need to be filmed? Granted, he was probably trying to film him trying to have sex with his sister and just turned into a conversation. But then he gets pissed. She starts laughing at him. He slashes her throat. She appears to die. And then that's when he goes to have sex with her body. And then we cut back to the office with Goyo and Juarez. There is a twist. So if you haven't seen it, and this sounds interesting, if you are into extreme films, go check it out. I didn't see the end coming. There's kind of two twists, but I mean, if you like movies like August Underground, or I'll even say Cannibal Holocaust. This is way more extreme than Cannibal Holocaust, but stuff like August Underground, Snuff 102, the more torture-y type of extreme films, then definitely check it out. It definitely looks good for the budget, but I do like the line where Juarez tells him, I don't think you're a victim. Just because that happened to you doesn't make you a victim. You're still a piece of shit. You still did awful things, and that's no excuse for what you have done. And he calls him an experiment, which he then, because in the opening of the film, there's this caption that says like 98% of murders in Mexico goes unsolved. You find out he's part of this thing called the Black Hand, which I guess to my understanding, the reason why murders go unsolved is because they just kind of take care of the problems themselves. They'll have prisoners kill other prisoners. They're kind of cleaning up the scum, I guess. He goes more into detail with it, but okay, decent twist. Which is why I guess he's not going to book him for murder. But also the prostitute at the beginning of the film the August Underground scene was actually a transvestite and is Juarez's brother. That's why he was on this extreme vendetta in this determined path to find this body. It was his brother, and so he has this grudge. So much so that, yeah, this isn't going to be a guy that goes away for, for murder. He's going to get wiped out. He's going to get wiped out by way of this new way of dealing with killers. The other twist is that the sister did not die. She lived through the throat slitting, and she became a hell of a serial killer herself. In fact, there's like a stack of pictures that Juarez gives Goyo of all these really messed up bodies. That's all her handiwork. And it ends with Juarez undoing her handcuffs, leaving the room, giving her an X-Acto knife, and as she lunges, end the movie. It's definitely more extreme than I thought it was going to be. I didn't think it was going to be like this. I thought it was going to be more along the lines of, not even story-wise, just level of extremity. Maybe something like Flowers, or even maybe like a Ryan Nicholson film. Taken more seriously, but like a Ryan Nicholson film. But no, I could put this somewhere up there with the first August Underground. Not just because of how similar the first scene is, but it does have stuff I don't think I've seen before. The barbed wire rape was in Human Centipede 2, but the camera going inside was different. In fact, he's making his parents do that to each other. Then that gender reassignment of mutilation, all based off the abuse that they gave him. Normally I don't really care for backstory, but they delivered with the backstory on this, and they made it worth it. Yeah, not the most extreme film I've ever seen, but it is up there, especially for the ones that deal with found footage or try to play out like found footage. Is it as extreme as Stuff 102? In some ways, yeah. I would say in some ways it is up there with Stuff 102. But so yeah, that is Atroz or Atroz, Atrocious, the Mexican extreme film from 2015. I do have a couple more coming in. They're going to be a while. I wasn't going to say, but Subconscious Cruelty and My Red Guts. They're both going to kind of take a while, but they are on their way. I have a few more coming in. Of course, I still have the rest of the ones I have to get to. So stay tuned for those, and thank you for watching.